So the first step of this recipe is to soak your mung beans overnight, or if you can't do it overnight, to do it for at least 8 hours. These are somewhat soft, but this will make your beans a lot smoother and allow them to cook through more evenly. And then the next step is that we're gonna put this in a pot of water. And you get the idea, but you're also gonna put your broth in here and let all of that flavor soak up into the beans. If you don't have broth, you can use better than bouillon or veggie cubes. This is what I will be using, one of these bouillon cubes with the correct amount of water, which you can find in the written recipe. So I'm about to add the water that I need. And you're gonna then let these come to a boil and let the beans cook until they are tender, but still firm enough to retain their shape. You don't want these guys to get mushy at all. So that's important that you're gonna bring these to a boil and then you're gonna let it simmer with a lid. And check on it every so often because your flame might be stronger than others, but this should take at least 30 minutes for it to get to the consistency that you want. So I just strained this into a bowl after boiling it in the pot. And now the beans are about this texture. I think I overcooked them a little bit, so you might want to cook them a little bit less than this. But the main thing is that you want to reserve the broth. Don't throw this away because that will be part of the soup. So yeah, put this aside and then start cutting up your vegetables, your spices, and then we can start sauteing after that. So here you have some of the basic ingredients that I'm going to use for today. Here we have some fresh moringa, malunggay in the Philippines, and I got this at a Thai market near my house. But if you don't have this available to you in your area, you can find it sometimes frozen in a grocery store, but you can also just substitute it with other greens that are more accessible to you. A good substitute is spinach or bok choy if you prefer that, or water spinach. That's also more easily found in some Asian grocery stores. I use some form of root crop for some nice starchiness and texture. I have these like fingerling potatoes that I'll use since they need to be used soon. But you could do sweet potato or taro, whatever is in your palate. And this is kind of your base. I'm missing an onion here, but I will put out an onion, tomatoes, garlic, ginger, chili. It's kind of like the holy base of most Filipino cooking. And then a can of coconut milk that you'll add to make it creamy at the end. You might also want some salt and pepper to season as you go, and some fish sauce and soy sauce and tamari or miso paste if that's what you like, for additional like deeper flavor and salting throughout the process. So yeah, now we'll just get going. So we have everything cut up. I like to cut up my potatoes really chunky. I do the onions in slices. I cut the ginger in matchsticks, mince the garlic, take the moringa off the stalk, cut tomatoes into chunks, and then just chop the chilies into slices quite finely. You won't use all of this. I like things spicy, so you might not want this much. Okay, so now you're gonna saute everything. I like to put everything together. You can put a little bit of salt. just to help release the flavors. And yeah, let that cook until it's translucent, and then you'll add your tomatoes and your other dry ingredients. Interrupting. So now you're just gonna stir these in and let them get soft, and then you'll add your potatoes and your mung beans and let them stew down. So now I added these potatoes, and I'm gonna let this cook for a couple minutes to soften, and then I'm gonna add these mung beans, which are already pretty fully cooked, so I don't want to overcook them. So I'm gonna add them, and after I let these cook for a little bit. Okay, so what I did, because the mung beans are already fully cooked, I took the water from here and then put it into the pot so that the potatoes can soak up all of that flavorful broth. And then once they're like about 3/4 of the way cooked, I'll add the mung beans and the coconut milk, and then we'll put everything together. So I just put in the mung beans because the potatoes are almost cooked through. And so I'm just going to distribute this evenly, and then also put in a little tablespoon of miso paste to give it more flavor and medicine. And I'm gonna add this can of coconut milk. And then we're gonna bring this back up with a little bit of heat on the flame, so maybe like a medium flame. And then you're gonna stir that all in, and then cover it, and then let the potatoes all cook in. But yeah, you wanna fully incorporate this. Yeah, this looks delicious, no? And yeah, because the potatoes will continue to soak up that liquid if it feels like a lot. There's still a little bit more cooking to do. Okay, so now that all of the potatoes are fully cooked through, I'm gonna take this moringa leaf and add it in, and let that cook down for a couple of minutes. I turned the heat off though, because the leaves are quite delicate and I don't want these to overcook.